What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Now, today I've got for you just one story, but it's a long one, and there are a couple of updates to get into as well. If you're a fan of Reddit relationship drama in general, this is the perfect story for you. One of the characters in this story absolutely lives for it. You're gonna love her. Now, before we get into it, I do want to quickly apologize. Yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I accidentally read a story without realizing on the channel that I'd already read about a year and a half or so ago. And I actually had no idea. That was a complete accident. I didn't remember the story. I worked it out. I've read roughly 3,000 stories, I think, over the past almost 6 years of doing this. And it is kind of impossible for me to remember every single one, especially when a lot of them are relatively similar. So hold my hands up. Sorry for that. But this one, I'm 100% confident I've never read before because it's amazing, and it's not one that I'd ever forget. Am I the jerk for teasing my friend about not recognizing my kid, thus ruining her marriage and an unrelated engagement party? This was originally posted on October the 18th, 2024. So, me and my wife have a 5-year-old son. Our group of friends is mostly couples with kids, as we are nearing our 40s, and so a lot of our meetings with friends now include meeting up as entire families, kids included. This can sometimes mean a lot of adults and a lot of kids. One person in this group, Emma, used to be my roommate in college. She was married and has her own kids, and we hang out with her and her husband sometimes in a group setting, but rarely on our own. Emma also tends to run late, often. This is all relevant to the story. As our son is an only child, we sometimes worry that he wouldn't really learn to share or get along with other kids. To prevent this, and while I love spending time with him, I would sometimes preemptively nudge him to engage with other kids when we're in public playgrounds or at the beach or the pool. To that end, when I buy him a water pistol or an RC car or the like, I'd often just buy 2 or 3. I'd get to the playground and play with him, and when another kid would show interest in the toys, I'd just go, "Oh, you want to play with us?" and hand him the remotes or the pistol or the whatever, thus getting the kids to play. This works great quite often, and I have a generally good relationship with the parents at our neighborhood. This is also relevant. One day, like a year back, me and my wife were planning on taking our kid to the pool. I pack my large bag of pool toys. Emma texts me. Her husband is away that day and she's looking for something to do with the kids. I talk to my wife and tell Emma we're going to our local pool and she's welcome to join us, but we're planning on heading there early so she can just join us whenever. We arrive at the pool pretty early and get a really good spot poolside, right by the shallows. I grab some water pistols and me and my kid start playing world domination. I'm trying to take over the world and I can only be stopped through the power of water pistols. It's a whole thing. The kid loves it. Soon, another kid is there. It's a kid from my son's kindergarten class. He's there with his mum. He is, of course, welcome to join us. We know the family, the mum and my wife are pretty friendly and our kids play together often. So my wife says she wants to go for a swim, and the kid's mum says she wants to join her and asks me if I'm okay watching the kids. I say sure, since by this point the kids are blasting each other with water pistols and I'm just chilling poolside, occasionally having to call out, "Oh no, my plans for world domination, ruined," because sometimes that's just what parenting is. Then Emma and her kids show up. She is really happy to see me, and I give out toys to her kids. All is going well. Then my son's friend runs up and asks for some other toy, and I go, "Sure thing," and hand it to him. Emma goes, "Oh my god, so cute, he looks just like you." I laugh and say, "Okay, cool, but this isn't my kid." Now, in her defense, the kid does look kinda like me, making this kinda hilarious. When my wife and the kid's mum comes back, I tell them the story. They also find it hilarious. We all have a friendly chuckle, but think little of it. Fast forward to a few months ago. Now, I haven't seen Emma in a while. We're at a friends group gathering, and it was a good time all around. When we're about to call it a day, me and Emma are at the entrance. She's grabbing her stuff, and I'm on my second trek from the car. Kids' toys, kids' clothes, dirty dishes, Tupperware with leftovers I want, etc. And I call out to Emma's husband, "Hey, can you call my wife and kid over? Just make sure it's actually my kid and not some random kid who kinda looks like me." I think it's a hilarious callback. He seems confused and kinda angry. He asks what the heck I'm talking about. Why would he call a random kid? I'm also confused, so I tell him the pool story. He doesn't laugh. Emma doesn't laugh either. The entire thing now feels kinda awkward. I awkwardly say goodbye, go and grab my wife and kid myself, and we leave. Later that day, I text Emma to ask if everything is alright. I get no reply. I text again a few days later, no reply. I get the distinct sense that I effed up, but also if she doesn't want to talk to me, I'm not going to force the issue. I leave well enough alone. At worst, I thought she was mad at a joke I made, which was apparently in poor taste. Boy, howdy did I underestimate the fallout of this joke. A few days ago, I arrive at a friend's place and she's there. This is an engagement party, so no kids. I wasn't supposed to come, but I decided to last minute, and my wife was at home with our kid. Emma sees me and is livid. She wasn't expecting to come. She actually only did because she thought I wouldn't be here. She does, however, take the opportunity to tear me a new one. She calls me out in front of everyone. Because of my joke, originally said with air quotes, her husband was furious. From what she said and what I gathered from mutual friends afterwards, she previously commented on someone else's kid looking like someone who wasn't his father. Except that whole thing led to family drama in Emma's husband's family, because in that case, that dude was cheating, and that was his kid, and a whole bunch of people were really hurt in the aftermath. Emma's husband was furious because he apparently thought she would know better than to comment on kids looking like people again. This sent them down a spiral, especially because the husband apparently thought she told me that other family story, and that I was mocking him for his family drama, and he thought the story I told was just covering for her when I realised I effed up. This was not the case. Goodness me, this has gone pretty far from just a silly little joke, my word. I had no idea that whole thing happened. Still, he didn't believe Emma when she told him. So, they are now separated. She calls me a jerk and says that I ruined her marriage. Now, I'm not a confrontational person. I apologize profusely. I say I didn't know, and if she didn't want me telling the story, then she should have said something. She tells me that I'm making excuses. This is now a scene. I apologize profusely again, and I leave quickly after telling the couple a quick congratulations. I'm later told this was anything anyone could talk about at the party, and now the engaged couple are mad at me too. Emma is even more mad because now everyone knows her drama. I am unfriended and unfollowed on everything. Some friends think I couldn't have known better, and the joke was pretty benign. But other friends say it was in really poor taste to throw her under the bus and that I am totally the jerk. Emma's best friend, who I also know from college, thinks I did know about the thing with her husband, and now I'm just covering my own butt to get away with being cruel. It's been a few days and some of my friends will no longer talk to me. Others think she is wrong to blame me and that marriage was doomed anyway. Still, I feel really guilty about making the joke, and I obviously wouldn't have made it had I known the trouble it would cause. I like Emma, and I didn't want to hurt her. I also liked her husband. I'd like to say that maybe he was wrong to let the marriage implode like that because of a stupid joke, but at the same time I don't exactly know his family drama and their history, nor the specifics of his relationship with Emma, so I can't really say he's wrong or overreacting. The entire thing just kinda sucks. My wife sorta got my back though. She thinks the joke was hilarious and actually thinks that me breaking up their marriage makes it even funnier because what the heck? She also loves crazy Reddit stories, so she sent me to post this. So at least I've got that going for me, which is nice. So I guess, am I the jerk? Okay, so before I give my thoughts on this one and we get into the first update, there are actually two pretty long updates to this one, guys, so lock in. This gets great. Let's have a look at some comments first of all. So somebody said, nah, it sounds like she's being blamed for someone else's infidelity and her whole in-law family is gaslighting her. Actually, I kind of feel bad for her. And OP replied, I hadn't actually thought of that. That entire thing must be really hard on her. I'll try talking to her again in a few days and try to clear the air because she is a friend and she's clearly going through stuff. Like, I'm not super thrilled about how she called me out at the party, but at the same time, I don't know, I've known her for over 15 years. Someone else asked for info. I'm curious if you reached out to the husband to try and explain, especially considering how everyone in your group is supposed to be friends. And if you did reach out to him, what did he say? OP replied, I did not, and I probably will not since he and I were never really close like that. I liked him well enough, but he wasn't really the friendliest guy, at least with me. Somebody else said, you're definitely not the jerk here. Emma's husband wanted an out and you gave him one. It wasn't your fault and you shouldn't have even apologized. There was nothing wrong with your joke. Honestly though, your friend group sounds like it thrives on drama and you're probably better off not being friends with the people who took Emma's side. And finally, somebody said, you're not the jerk at all. And I love how she freaks out on you and publicly airs her dirty laundry, then blames you for everyone learning about the situation that she blurted out. That is a very good point. Okay, so a lot going on here already, and I will say that the first update comes just 1 day later, but it's packed full of new information and drama. So yeah, more is going to be revealed then. However, just off the bat, I don't know, it's just so much going on here. The first thing that comes to my mind is this woman's husband is clearly just looking for an out, I think. Like, you don't split up with somebody just because of one off-the-cuff joke that somebody else made. It's just not a thing. So, yeah, there's definitely more going on here, and I feel like this was just a matter of time. But it is kind of funny, to be honest, how one joke can just cause a divorce. I'm also not really inclined to agree with the commenter who said that they actually might feel bad for Emma. Yeah, it's clear to me that her husband is looking for a way out and is probably jumping on something. But I don't think she's helped herself in this situation by blurting it out at an engagement party and then saying, like the last commenter said, "Oh, what do you mean? Everyone knows about it now. I'm a laughingstock." Yeah, because you told everyone. Like, you made it all about you. I don't know. Anyway, let's get into the first update that comes just 1 day later. I'm now updating you because the last few hours have been a lot. It turns out that when I wrote my post, I left out one critical piece of context. I thought I was a regular person living a normal life. It turns out that I am Chaz, a side character on the worst Gossip Girl episode ever written. So, after posting yesterday, reading replies and thinking it over, I decided to reach out to Emma one final time. Some of you thought I shouldn't, and that these were, in fact, not my monkeys. But others maybe realised that Emma was probably in a trashy situation with her husband and his family and was actively being gaslit. Now, of note here, while as I mentioned we're not as close as we used to be very close. She helped me pick out a spot and let me borrow her car for my first date with who later became my wife. She was a significant part of my support system during some very rough times in my life. Despite everything, I still felt like I cared about her and wanted to work things out. This is no longer the case. See, from my perspective, I thought we were good friends. Then, when she met her husband, we naturally drifted apart, and then this thing happened out of nowhere. This was not what it looked like from her perspective. How do I know? Well, buckle up, because this is absolutely unhinged. So, last night before going to bed, I texted her a long, thoughtful message. I explained that I do apologise for the part I played in ruining her marriage, and I understand that she's going through a tough time. I understand if she wants nothing more to do with me, but if and when she feels she wants to talk it out, she's welcome to reach out, and I leave the ball in her court. I show this to my wife, and she is practically giddy. She tells me there's no way this doesn't blow up in my face, and I should have just cut my losses, like many of you guys said. Emma shows up at my house at around 7 a.m. unannounced. I ask, what the flip? She says she really needs to talk to me. I call my wife to the door and explain this. She sends me off with this woman because she understands this can only go badly, and apparently she's here for it, and it's my own fault at this point. So, as I said, from my perspective, we were friends and we drifted apart. From her perspective, for the last 15 years, she's been playing some weird game of 4D chess. Or 2 different games of 4D chess? Apparently, she had feelings for me back in college, and she was trying to nice girl her way into a relationship with me by being there for me when my dad died and when I was struggling with being single. She always gave everything because she just assumed I would, at some point, come around. You'd think that me getting married or her getting married would change that, and it did, just badly. Apparently her husband knew about her feelings, which is why he always kept me at a distance. We never drifted apart. He explicitly asked her not to meet with me anymore outside of large social gatherings. That day at the pool? Yeah, that was her sticking it to him because he was away cheating on her or something, and he didn't like her hanging around me scantily clad. It wasn't just that he was upset at the joke. He was upset because apparently I was having an affair with his wife and rubbing it in his face. Makes no sense? I know. It gets worse. That thing at the wedding, well, at least she didn't plan that. I told our friends getting engaged that I wasn't coming. She asked and verified this. She wasn't expecting to see me, and they told her I wouldn't be there. But once I showed up, she decided to exploit it. She intended to have a huge scene with me so that she could tell her estranged husband and friends that I ambushed her because she broke off Our affair. Our affair. Apparently, we had an affair. Oh, what affair is that, you ask? Well, I did too. Apparently, the story some people got was that she and I were having an affair, and it ended, and then I was just stalking her. Her husband left her because he found out. So people more inclined to believe her just thought that was what happened and wanted nothing to do with me anymore. So why did her husband actually leave? Well, some of you called it. According to her, he was cheating on her a bunch and was overall not a nice person. She never actually cheated on him, but used me to pretend that she did without my knowledge. So after the joke at the gathering, which may have indeed been in poor taste, they had a huge fight and he left the house. As for the thing with his family, from what I gather, it was some dude sleeping with his cousin's wife or something like that. So anyway, she tells me all this insanity and tops it off with that my message really moved her and we can still be friends. The reason she rushed to show up at 7 a.m, my message made her realize I am actually the only one who really cares about her and everyone else in her life is fake and doesn't really care. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but now this sounds like some really manipulative stuff to me. And I'm thinking back to a lot of our previous interactions, and a lot of them also seem like that to me now as well. I am not a confrontational person. I was willing to accept that I effed up. Maybe some of you were right and the joke was in poor taste, and I'm a huge jerk for making it because I thought that if he knew the story, he'd get the call back, and if he didn't, I'd tell him a funny story about his wife. I accept all that criticism. But this? F no. I was done. I tell her I'm done with her trash. She can get back to her husband, leave her husband, keep any friends she wants because I am done. I can forgive a lot, but she'd been basically not communicating with me for over 15 years. I was telling her everything about my life and my feelings, and I was absolutely appalled by just how much of a one-way street this turned out to be. I feel like I didn't ever really know her. Maybe I played a role in that too. Maybe I was self-centered or selfish and didn't consider her emotions or her signs. I don't know. And you know what? At this point, I don't think it matters. She lied to me so much. She lied to so many people so much. I just don't care anymore. I don't think there's anything left of this friendship to fix. And the worst part, I just gave you this huge update, and I genuinely don't know how much of it's true. Maybe she was completely honest with me, but maybe she lied about everything and we're still playing 4D chess. Who knows? I certainly don't. And that, more than anything, is why this friendship is over. Because even if I could forgive everything, I can never really trust her. So, that's that. There will probably not be any more updates because this was meant to be a light-hearted post and it turned out into a total cluster flip, and I'm just so tired and so sad. I'm sorry if this wasn't as readable or as coherent as my previous post. This just happened and I'm just exhausted. Sorry, I'm going to interject here because I'm in complete flow state and I've not made an error in so long reading this because it's so good and so easy to read. This is very readable, OP. Let's get back into it. My wife has been very supportive, though I assume at some point I'm due some well-earned I told you so's. She knows there wasn't an affair and there was certainly no stalking, and most of my friends probably know that too. I may try reaching out to some others because, well, I don't know, maybe they were told even worse things about me, but I'm just done with this. And now I'm going to spend what's left of this weekend with my family and try to put this hell behind me. Thank you all for reading and for your advice. Well guys, 3 days later, we actually did get one final update. Before that, I just have to just jump into some comments from people on that first update. Somebody said, wow, what a roller coaster. It sounds like you made the right call cutting ties. The situation was beyond your control and you can't be responsible for someone else's complex web of lies and manipulation. Focus on your own well-being and enjoy the support of your wife and family. And somebody else said, so she's been telling people you had an affair? Run for the hills. Open a group chat with the friends. Tell the truth, and whoever doesn't believe you, drop them. If she takes a narrative, it would be your word against hers. Okay, well, reading that certainly makes me feel a little bit better about what I said after the first post, where I said that, you know, maybe she is being gaslit here a little bit, but ultimately she is sort of entertaining this, or she has brought a lot of this on herself. And now, after reading that, yeah, I'm going to double down on what I've just said there. 15 years of manipulation. It's actually insane. Like, I do, on the one hand, genuinely actually now do feel a little bit bad for her because, like, maybe she was really in love with you this entire time and just didn't find a way of saying it, or just couldn't really deal with the fact that she was still in love with you despite getting married and trying to move on. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving her way too much credit here and she's just a really weird person. I think that's probably more likely. Like, what is she actually doing? Telling her husband that she's having an affair with you and that you are now her stalker is so mad. Wow. But as I said, there is one final update that we got 3 days later. After reading that one, I genuinely have no expectations or even any sort of like comprehension or even some sort of guess as to what might happen in this one. So let's just go into it with open arms and see if we make it out the other side. Okay guys, some of you thought things were going to get pretty crazy. Now before I give this update, I should probably clarify some things that were brought up in the comments. Firstly, when I said we were roommates, I didn't mean we shared a literal room. We lived off campus in an apartment with another friend. We all had our own room. Second, to clarify, and more on this later, the only person she told about having an affair with me long term was her husband, now ex. Everyone else heard about it, but only after the engagement party outburst. Thirdly, my house already has cameras and security. My dogs and her never really got along, so I don't think she's going to be trying anything anyhow. I suppose they were the first to know what's up. Okay, on to the actual update. While unfortunately I do not have the conversation with her recorded, I do have a text from a later time where she confirms making it up. I didn't block her because my wife said it might be better to let her incriminate herself further and have it documented, so I just let her do it for a while. And once I got her to admit she made the affair up, I stopped responding. Got increasingly angry at texts, but nothing yesterday, so hopefully that's done with. She actually said some pretty nasty stuff about my wife, and I considered responding, but my wife laughed it off and said that's just how sore losers are, and I shouldn't engage any further, so I didn't. I also have screenshots from her husband where she talks about the affair that she is supposedly having with me. How do I have those, you ask? Well, realizing just how much she lied about to me, it occurred to me that almost everything I know about her husband, let's call him Dave, comes, even indirectly, from her. And by this point, I suspect she might not be the most honest conveyor of events. So I took a risk and I texted him to meet up. We had a long talk, and again, he might be lying of course, but from what he said, he actually never cheated on her, though she often accused him of that. The innocent mistakes she made with his family, yeah, she felt his cousin's wife was being a little bit too familiar with Dave and started actively spreading the rumor the kid was his maliciously. Oh my goodness me, it's been her all along. This understandably caused a huge backlash and was one of the many things which caused Dave to want to leave. The interaction with me, in that context, was therefore just the final straw. Thinking of that now, the mistake she made with me might not have been so innocent, and I think she might have tried to start something else if my wife or the kid's mum were less good-natured about the whole thing. So anyway, Dave is fighting for full custody, so that can get really ugly. I don't know the legal nuance of divorce, but I assume he's in for a poop storm. He really likes a lot of our mutual friends, and has been a part of the group for quite a while, so he doesn't really want to have to leave or anything, and to be fair, having talked to him versus Emma, I tend to agree. We talked for a long time, and he seems to be a pretty good guy, though I have been wrong before. And I offered some support because, well, having read my post, you can probably assume what divorcing Emma is like. He worries about it, and I understand him completely. So I offered support best I could, and will probably continue to do so. So as for my friends, I sort of took your guys' advice, but not really. I didn't do a group text, but I did give a short summary of what happened and some choice screenshots to most of my friends. This started some conversation, and a lot of tea was spilled, and some realizations were made regarding the fact that a lot of drama that plagued our group over the years can actually be attributed to misunderstandings attributed to Emma. More tea ensued. My wife, by the way, is having a blast. So, yeah, some of my friends were gobsmacked since they didn't really hear Emma's story, but understood what a cluster flip this was. Others were understanding. Emma's best friend blocked me, so she's got nothing, but I suspect she'd remain unswayed regardless, and I suppose that's good. Most people I talked to felt we should probably cut contact from Emma, and that would be that. Her house in our neighborhood is owned by Dave, and she's already moved out, so we're not supposed to be seeing too much of her day to day. I don't really want to demonize her. I don't think she was evilly cackling as she tried to ruin lives. I think she's a very troubled person. And I still hope she finds peace and friends and relationships that would help her through whatever the frick she is going through, and mostly a good therapist. But this is no longer my circus, and she is not my monkey, and so I hope she does all that way the F away from me. As for my wife, here things get a little tricky. See, my wife confessed that she and Dave were having an affair all this time, and so we are getting a divorce. I'm kidding about the last part, of course. God, could you imagine? No, my wife is awesome and remained awesome. Since the situation seems to be mostly resolved, she is now allowed to tease me about it, which she has been. A lot. I might take a while to live this down, but otherwise we are doing well, and for the most part things seem to have settled down with my friends. Though I may want to reevaluate some of my relationships with some of the ones who were more inclined to believe some pretty bad stuff about me. And yeah, that is about it. I'm sorry there wasn't really the crazy showdown some of you may have expected. I do think this thing is behind us now, and thank you all for reading and for your advice. And there we go. I'm not entirely sure what crazy showdown we might have got there, but I think there was more than enough drama in that story to satisfy everyone in the world. There's no doubt about it. That was one of the most fun stories I've read in a long time. Just some crazy characters. Maybe my favorite one in all of this is your wife, OP. Just living for it every second. Like just knowing, of course, the whole time that you are completely innocent throughout all of this, and you know, just having a good time with it. Like supporting you, of course, but now that it's all over, just teasing you about it, living for the drama, saying you shouldn't get involved, but I reckon secretly hoping you kind of do, and just seeing what happens and just laughing at your demise, if anything, and just, yeah, lapping it up. It's good to see. I feel like OP's wife is kind of like one of us, sort of watching this from the outside, enjoying the drama, seeing what happens, and being completely gobsmacked by the result. Definitely one of the craziest stories that I've read in a while, with some unbelievable twists and turns. I started thinking that Emma's husband was the problem. Goodness me, how wrong I was. He seems like a nice guy, Dave. just crazy scenes. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on all of this stuff. And yeah, subscribe for more like this.